Hey, I'm Arden Kaywin, and this is today's episode of the Pro Singer Success Collective. We are talking about how to win the audition game. All right, guys, today we're talking about auditions. Some of you love auditioning, some of you hate auditioning, some of you are starting to go to a lot more auditions now, some of you are still on the bench. Regardless of where you are on that spectrum, we're gonna talk about how you up-level your ability to deliver when you audition, because there's nothing worse than feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm amazing in performance. Like if they would just come see my show, I'd get the job. But unfortunately, you gotta deliver in the audition too. And so one of our group members was actually the person who inspired today's topic. So thank you to Jackie from Texas. Her comment about how she feels in auditions reminded me of a conversation that I had recently, a couple months ago, with a singer who was just so angry. She was so frustrated because she was starting to go to auditions again. And she was just feeling that because it's been a while that she kind of felt off her game. And yet when she would go to perform, she had a couple gigs, that the performances were great. She was so angry and so frustrated because these auditions were just not going as well as the performances. There's a long history, she was saying, of her performances going so much better than her auditions. And I have a feeling that she and Jackie are not the only ones who suffer with this and are frustrated by this. So I wanted to come in today and pop in and talk about it. So let me check in with you guys first and hit me, in the comments here if you relate to any of this, if you feel this is true for you. And by the way, guys, I often go back and I will engage with the comments. So even if you're not watching live, you can go ahead and comment because I will absolutely respond if it's something that I have to say. So, okay, hit me in the comments if you relate to this. Do you feel like you are able to bring it in a show or a performance, but not deliver in auditions in the same way? Does this happen for you? Does this frustrate you? Do you notice this? Do you suffer from nerves or performance anxiety or the effects of fear or stress or anxiety in your auditions that just aren't there for you in the same way when you perform in a regular show or live performance? Does it feel different in auditions? Like, are you, excited and just ready to rock and roll when you go into a show to play a show, sing a show? Or when you go to auditions, is that not the case? Like there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of fear. Is that you? Do you relate to that? Let me know. Hit me in the comments. Do you feel completely stumped about what to do about it? Like you've tried all these things. Maybe you've done audition workshops. Maybe you've done, stress management or other things, and nothing seems to help. Do you relate to that? And, the worst part about this that, when I was speaking to one of my singers who was noticing this was she was noticing that it was affecting her desire to take the risk and put herself out there for the kind of auditions that were really going to build her career. So she was happy to go on, little local things where she, where there wasn't a whole lot at stake. But when there was an audition where there was a lot at stake, she started to feel like she was not confident enough to really go for those auditions. And so her career's not moving forward the way she wants because of this issue. And so she was missing out on going for these jobs that would bring her income and really help her get rid of her day job and build a career in a sustainable way. And the worst thing of all is that it was just making her question if she was ever going to have this career at all if she didn't fix this and if she was really good enough to hack it. So, obviously we're talking about mostly Broadway singers, opera singers here. But I've also worked with pop singers and recording artists who experience the same issues when it comes to having like an industry showcase or a label showcase. So, oftentimes if you're a recording artist and you'll be contacted, if you're making a splash, if you have a song that hits on social media, or if, you've been slowly building this career and now you have an opportunity to go meet with a label and they're looking at you, or maybe you have an opportunity to maybe open for someone like a big artist on tour. And so you're gonna have to do a showcase to, show what you do and what you've got. And so, this is not just the idea of auditioning. This is not just something for opera singers, Broadway singers, pop singers, recording artists have to do this too. Also, if you're somebody who's interested in doing any of the competition shows, Idol, The Voice, right? It's just one big audition. So, oh God, I remember an R&B singer who I knew who really struggled with this. And it killed his career because he couldn't deliver when he needed to in that potentially stressful environment. So here's the truth. What I want you to know is that there's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with Jackie, who asked this question. If your auditions are not, if you feel confident and you're not landing these auditions at the level that you want, right? There's nothing wrong with you if you experience this. It's just there's something that you don't know that you don't know. And so the difference between those singers who succeed in auditions and those who continue to struggle is that those who succeed have learned how to audition from their awareness instead of from their ego mind. I'm going to say that again. The ones who succeed have learned how to audition from their awareness instead of their ego mind. Maybe they were taught, maybe they were just born with that. Lucky them, right? But some do this naturally, and it's just built into their mindset, and they don't have to learn it. Okay, lucky them, right? But for the rest of us, and yes, I'm including myself in this because I had to learn how to do this early on in my career. For the rest of us, we have to be taught, and it can be taught because once you know how to audition from your awareness instead of your ego mind, it's a totally different ballgame. And so when you're auditioning from your ego mind, you've got something to prove. When you're auditioning from your ego mind, you are invested in controlling the outcome of what others think of you. When you're auditioning from your ego mind, you are attached to the outcome. Okay? And so how all these things show up in auditions. So when you're trying to control what is fundamentally out of your control, like what someone thinks of you, what the auditioners think of you, right? Guys, it's a losing battle. You are not going to win that. You cannot control what someone else thinks of you, okay? Like, I have a singer, this is a story I love to tell to the singers who are in my program. She got into a final callback for a Broadway tour. It was a big equity tour. It would have completely, changed her career. And she went in, and she knows how to audition from her awareness. And she went in and she nailed it. And she came back and she told me, and she was like, that was the best audition ever. And she didn't get it. And she never knew why. It was like down to her and two other people. She never knew why, as it goes, because most of the time we don't. And a couple months later, she was out somewhere, and it was like a party or something. And she saw the casting director at the event that she was at. And of course, he doesn't remember her. He auditions so many people every day, every week, every year, right? But she remembered him. And so she was talking to him, and she goes up and she doesn't remind him of who she is, but she's just making friendly conversation. And he says to her, I don't mean to say this in the wrong way, but, the way she tells the story is he had this kind of sour look on his face. I don't mean to say this the wrong way, but you really remind me of my ex-wife. So she goes into that audition, right? She went in and she nails it. And, she reminds him of his ex-wife. And so, by the time you get into a final callback, everybody is talented. Everybody is amazing. Everybody can sing and blow you away and make an impact, right? And she reminded him of his ex-wife. Like, that is so out of her control, right? But see, if we're auditioning from ego mind, we think we can control what others think of us. And it's a losing battle, yet somehow your ego mind thinks you can win it, that if you are perfect, are beautiful, are thin, if you sing the note this way, if you sing the song that way, if you, whatever it is you think you have to do, you think that those things that you're going to control what they think of you. And as, this silly example explains, she did everything to the best of her ability, and he reminded her of his ex-wife. That's so out of her control, right? So the thing about this is that trying to control something that is out of our control fundamentally makes us feel very insecure because we never succeed at it. So when we feel insecure, we start to believe that we are not enough, that what we are doing is not enough, that our sound is not enough. And so now You don't trust what you've got. You don't trust your technique, your talent, yourself, your training. Instead, you push, manipulate, force, do all these extra things to make up for what you think will be that extra thing that's going to make the difference in your ability to control the uncontrollable, control this outcome, control what they think of you, right? Or maybe I've seen it where you go in the opposite direction and you hold back or you feel inhibited because God forbid you should do something that the auditioners don't like. So you play it safe. And in playing it safe, now they don't get to see the true essence of you. They don't get to hear your most potential sound, the biggest, and that didn't make sense, but you know what I mean? Like they don't get to hear that truth of you, that sound that's in you, because you're holding back, because you're inhibited, because you don't want to do anything that might make them think one way or another because you're so controlling of this outcome, right? So we all do these things, guys. We all do these things in order to make up for whatever we perceive and our ego mind has convinced us that we are lacking because we no longer trust what we have. So we do all these things and we sing like crap and we don't make the impact that we could. And either we completely blow the audition and crash and burn, or it's just not up to the result and it's just not up to the par that we know is in there. And so we feel bad and we beat up on ourselves, and it begins this negative feedback loop that makes us feel even more insecure. And so then all these things to control the outcome show up even more the next time you audition, or maybe you don't even go to the audition, right? And so it just becomes this losing battle, which has a huge negative effect on you being able to get to that stage in the career where you are thriving and you don't need a day job and you are living a life from your gifts. Now, when you audition from your awareness, it's a very different ballgame. You recognize that when someone else thinks or does is completely out of your control. So you surrender to that fact that you cannot control that. You cannot control the outcome of this audition. You return to the moment that you're in, and you're in the moment that you're in instead of engaging in all these control tactics that sabotage your sound and your essence and your impact in your best audition. And what do? Instead, you trust. You trust everything that brought you to that moment. And that's the moment, guys, that everything hooks in and sounds and feels glorious. That's the moment. And so this is why, guys, your performances tend to go so much better because you've already gotten the gig. You're already on stage. You've already been validated. There's nothing to prove. So you trust yourself, you trust your talent, you trust your instrument, you trust your technique, and you sing like a champ because you got nothing to prove, nothing to validate. And so here's what I want you to know. The same thing is available to you for auditions. Now, shifting from ego mind to awareness, it's a process. It's a big process. You don't just, all of a sudden snap your fingers one day and you're like, okay, I'm just going to decide to sing from my awareness today, right? Like if it were that easy, you'd be doing it and, you wouldn't be feeling this way about auditions, right? And here's the thing, it can be a really hard mindset shift to make on your own, but it 100% can be done. Just ask the hundreds of singers that I've worked with in my program who are already doing it. They will tell you. Talk to Annie Fitch, who just won a huge competition, the International Song Competition. She's making her Lincoln Center debut in May, right? Just ask Grace Tyson, right? She just opened, in Detroit, the Crawford Theater. She got paid $5,000 for that gig, right? So it can be done. Singers are doing it every day who understand how to make this mindset shift from awareness or from ego mind to awareness. Because that's what we do here. In my program is we talk about when we change our thinking, we change our singing. And that will be on my gravestone. Changing thinking equals changing singing. So it can be difficult to do on your own. Because it can be really hard to see our blocks and our patterns. Oftentimes we're just too close to ourselves to see it, And so if you know that you need to make this shift for your auditions, or maybe you're even experiencing this in performance, to be able to shift from performing and singing and approaching this from your awareness rather than your ego mind. If you know you need to make that shift, but you're not sure how to do it, This is why I'm on this planet. This is what we are the best in the world at doing, is to help talented singers get unstuck with this kind of stuff. And so if this is making a lot of sense to you, but you need some help to understand how to get back that trust and that confidence and that ownership in auditions like you have in performance, if this is making sense to you, or if you've always had this issue, right, and you want to understand how to get back that trust in auditions, then book a call with me. So I always set aside time in my calendar to share the strategies and steps that I use with the singers in my program. And this is a free call. I want to hear what's going on for you in your auditions. And if I think that I can help you, I'll let you know what that looks like. And if not, I'll point you in a different direction to somebody who can. We're going to lay out the plan that's going to help you to make that shift from singing from your ego mind to singing from your awareness, especially in those auditions, so that you can consistently nail those auditions and never deal with that awful stress and anxiety ever again. Confidently put yourself out there to go for all those things that will build this successful and sustainable singing career. So I'm gonna put a link at the end of this video, and if in the chat also on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be at the end of the video. If you're watching on Facebook, it'll be down in the chat. You could be creating an entirely new reality for your career. So a gentle reminder for who this call is for, okay? If you have not had much one-on-one technical training, this call is not for you yet. Go get that first. This is a great time to go do that. If you have had a good deal of training and you are out there and you are auditioning and hustling and putting yourself out there and you're not seeing the results of all that at the level that you want in terms of that high-level career, if you're not at the level that you want to be at in your career, if you don't feel like your auditions really represent what you can do, and if you're tired of the nerves and the pressure and the stress, and if you know you're talented, but you have a really low success rate at getting offers from your auditions, like so much so that it's making you wonder, like, am I really good enough to do this? Am I really good enough to have this career? If that's you, don't waste any more time. Schedule a call. We'll sort out what's working in your auditions and lay out a step-by-step strategy for you to make a much bigger impact when you audition and be able to bring that high-level career that you've been waiting for. So click the link at the end of this video and have a great week, guys. I will see you next time in the Pro Singer Success Collective.
Hey guys, to register for the 2-day audition mastery bootcamp that's coming up on September 14th and 15th, click that link below to grab your spot now. Spots are already filling up and I don't know when I'm gonna do this kind of live interactive online training again. So get in on it while you can. Click the link to register, save your spot, and I'll see you there.